Hi, everyone. This is Christine with Black Teen News, and today I want to talk about how Democrats are obviously trying to rig elections for years and years to years to come. It is just a tremendous power grab, and I guess maybe they feel like it's vindicated because Trump, filled all those judge seats and so on. So now they're gonna, do everything to the extreme, even at the expense of the Constitution and societal norms. And even though Joe Biden pitched himself as kind of being like the normal, get back to normal candidate, they're doing extraordinarily radical things. And we need to talk about it. So before we jump into it, please go to BlackTeenNewscom. Please look up content that I've written, articles, see where I am on other platforms, other videos that I've done. Go check out the store, get something for yourself. We got some new stuff in all the time. Get something for yourself or someone that you love. And if you would like to support what I'm doing here, you can donate to the website, or you can do so by going to one of those links right there. It is important, it is crucial to elevate voices that are willing to speak out. I would like to grow Black Teen News into something very successful, and if you would like to be a part of that, I thank you guys so much for doing that. Thank you for people who have supported, for every like, every share, every follow, and but thank you guys for whoever wants to go the extra mile and help out in that way. And I thank you for being part of the conversation. So how are the Democrats trying to take over? So I think it's really funny that Democrats are acting like the Georgia laws are so awful. And I did a video with a pastor from Georgia who was actually invited by Kemp and other pastors, and they all had concerns because they heard about all the stuff that people were saying. And the governor explained how all that stuff was malarkey. He explained to them and I guess gave them evidence about how he talked to other people, companies and athletic departments and so on, to let them know, hey, all that stuff that people are saying about the bill is wrong. and so they knew, but they decided to still do whatever they thought was best for PR. And it's just a bunch of lies. I think the Georgia law is very generous. Way more than I would be willing to grant. But it's definitely not Jim Crow 2.0 or Jim Eagle as Joe Biden explains it. But people say, well, why the timing? Because last year was an election that did not run smoothly. We had all kinds of new implications, procedures, rules that were changed in the middle of the game to ensure an outcome. Don't say that wasn't the case. And so that since those things happen, like drop boxes, those weren't really a thing. So since they are now, and people decided they like them, I would never leave my ballot in one of those, but whatever. They're going to make sure that there's certain procedures to make sure that people don't take advantage of those things. So why not put some safeguards in place? And a lot of things people say about the Georgia law just it absolutely isn't true. The voter ID thing is so stupid. Like, well, what? It's like a poll tax. Like, you dummies, you can go get free ID in Georgia. Like, shut up. Really arguing that black people are too dumb to go get a free ID in Georgia. Figured out how to buy alcohol, but they can't figure out how to vote. Like, come on. So why are they painting this really dumb thing and just going on with this narrative? Because they do not want Americans to believe that local people have the authority and the power to responsibly run your election. So you had Warnock go in front of Congress to advocate for the HR1 bill. And he complained about the suppression in the Georgia law, which is a lie. And now they're passing bills on other states. And they keep framing it like it's all because of the big lie about Joe Biden not lawfully winning the election. Like that's why they're passing all these laws. FYI, Republicans always want voter ID. We make sure people have to have their IDs at our conventions, just like Democrats do at theirs. They're doing all these things to frame like they have to pass something at the federal level to protect elections, because I guess Republicans are crazy, so they have to pass these bills. But I would like to journey back to 2016 with the President Barack Obama. And the reporters were asking him, can you promise that the election will not be rigged? Because Trump is saying that the election is going to be rigged. And he said something that was really interesting.
The federal government doesn't run the election process. States and cities and communities all across the country, they're the ones who set up the voting systems and the voting booths. And if Mr. Trump is suggesting that there is a conspiracy theory that is being propagated across the country, including in places like Texas, where typically it's not Democrats who are in charge of voting booths. That's ridiculous. That doesn't make any sense, and I don't think anybody would take that seriously.
Now, President Obama said that you can't rig an election because our elections are too diverse and they're not handled federally. So the point of our elections being diverse and states being able to decide besides states' rights, it does help with the integrity of the elections, not having centralized with the federal government. It prevents fraud. So yes, Obama was right. It was ridiculous to think that someone could just steal the elections that are so localized. Though I do think that Trump was mostly referring to how the media and whatever was treating him, which that's kind of a different thing. But Obama had a good point. No one was going to steal the election. Now, the ironic thing is that that's all Democrats were kind of saying after Trump actually won. But when they thought Hillary was going to win, of course they were saying it's stupid, it's impossible, you can't win an election like that. But when Trump won, that just shook everyone up. So things like radically had to change. And people were starting to change things anyway. Like Eric Holder, Obama's wingman, they started these nationwide initiatives to try to change, how people were redistricted and all this other kind of stuff. They failed at a lot of places. In Michigan, unfortunately, where I'm from, a ballot proposal was passed and a lot of people didn't understand it. They really campaigned on it well, because it was very simple and very deceptive, and Republicans didn't do their homework. I mean, you got to blame it on both sides of the aisle because it got it's not like it barely passed. It passed pretty well. So they craft plans to try to rig the game in their favor on those fronts, but they're also trying to do it at a federal level. So what are they trying to do? Passing these unconstitutional laws to try to take the power away from the states to give it to the federal government to decide how many days people can vote, do early voting, make sure that people have to do same day registration, put in all these kind of rules that maybe some states aren't ready for or that some states would like, and just kind of rip away the safeguards that we may have to kind of protect the integrity of our election. But they do it in the name of protecting the integrity of our election. So they're smooth, but they're so ridiculously bold. Like after the election was over, Times actually put out an article talking about how they rigged the election, but they didn't call it rigging. They called it fortifying, and talked about how they put all these laws and rules in place to make sure that basically that they could win the election the way that they did. And they were bold enough to post an article about it. But of course they didn't admit to it as stealing. And there were places where, Secretary of States and, lawmakers or whoever actually did break the law. I mean, and judges have ruled in certain areas, like in Michigan, that secretaries of states, whoever did things, enacted inappropriately. But if they're rigging the system, no, they don't necessarily have to do something that's illegal. But is it moral? No, of course not. And is it constitutional? I guess you are kind of breaking the laws because it's not constitutional. So, but they know that putting elections in the hands of the federal government is a bad idea in general, because face it, guys, you're not always going to be the ones in charge. But they are trying to make it so that they are the ones always in charge. And I don't care if you're a Democrat and you're like, yeah, I want to win. Guys, let's say the shoe is on the other foot. It's in everyone's best interest that the government is as small as possible and that you have as big of a say in elections and in your life and how you run it and how you rule it as possible. And so keep surrendering all your power to the federal government. It's just crazy, in my opinion. I don't know why people do it, why people advocate for it, but they do what they do, I guess. But you have to look a little beyond your politics and actually decide what may be best for the country. But the Democrats, they have a slim majority in the House and in the Senate. And if all of them get on board to pass this measure, they could get it passed and it would utterly destroy the integrity of our elections for the future. And they're doing all this at the same time that they're trying to destroy the filibuster, which is not which wasn't racist all the times that they use the filibuster for some reason. They're trying to push infrastructure bills that have very little to do with infrastructure, and would also supersede states' rights and get rid of a lot of these right to work rules and stuff like that. So that's crazy. They want to pack the courts and do all other kinds of nonsense. So this is an extremely radical administration, and but I see through you guys. Obviously, you're trying to centralize the election so you can control them and control the outcome, because you didn't like the outcome with the Congress and the Senate was slim, but you definitely want to make sure that you can keep having as much power as possible. Trump really scared the crap out of these guys, and it's just remarkable. But now they're gonna double down and do what they have to basically throw the country into a topsy-turvy territory. So we have to fight back, and we have to push hard. And that's what I'm trying to do, and I hope you guys will do the same. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Make sure that you go to BlackTeenNewscom, check out the content that I have, and if you would like to get any of the merchandise for you or someone, go ahead and do that. What are you waiting for? And also, if you would like to donate, you can do that as well. Thank you guys for supporting, and I will see you next time.